F off back to Montecito.
Get out. Oh, by the way, and here's a bill for tens and tens of thousands of pounds.
As new questions are being asked about the state of Prince Harry's marriage to Meghan Markle, as she stayed away from his darkest moments.
He's crying into his soup.
They are actually in the United Kingdom, just not in London right now.
She was meant to be at Chelsea Hospital today in the famous operational notes that were sent to all of the little propagandists on the WhatsApp group. That was meant to be Meghan's big moment, and she wasn't there. And she wasn't there yesterday either, by the way, when he was having some type of breakdown.
Harry is always there for Meghan, and she is never, ever there for him when he needs her. And I think that's very, very telling about the true nature of their marriage. And I don't think it's a happy one.
The atmosphere shifted long before Prince Harry's latest visit to Britain reached its biggest headlines. It wasn't because of the palace, it wasn't because of the courtroom, and it wasn't even another royal door that seemed to close in front of him. The biggest change was unfolding much closer to home, and it quickly became impossible to ignore. Harry stepped back into the country that shaped his life, while Meghan stayed almost entirely out of sight. As he faced one of the toughest and most closely watched weeks of his public life, his wife was nowhere beside him. Every appearance only seemed to raise more questions than answers, leaving many people wondering why he was facing these moments on his own. Now, even with reports suggesting Meghan and the children may already be somewhere in Britain, Harry continues to appear by himself. That detail has only intensified the speculation. So what exactly are we witnessing here? Is this the story of a husband trying to reclaim a piece of the life he once knew, while his wife quietly follows a very different path? Because this wasn't just another disappointing week for Prince Harry. It was one setback after another.
This has been a bad week for Harry. No, this has not been a bad week. It's been a terrible week. Absolutely one of the worst in his life. I mean, it's even worse than when he dressed up as a Nazi.
Meghan is done with watching Harry being humiliated on the world stage. Let me tell you something, Meghan girl. Your husband already did that when he wrote that book, Spare.
Everybody, including Harry, everybody's got to coddle Meghan, but she should have been there at the very least, even if she didn't want to make an appearance. You think, given that she is supposed to know the fragile state of mind her husband has been put in by all of this stress, because she often parrots this as well, but there's never any concern for Harry.
Meghan is angry because she believes that Harry keeps reaching out to his family and only to be rejected. She's allegedly done with the royals, done with the back and forth. Why, might you ask? Because she doesn't feel like they have anything to atone for. She feels like he should just be welcomed back with open arms.
Each one arriving before the last had even settled. Courtroom disappointment, public scrutiny, and fresh questions all landed at once, creating a picture that looked far more troubling than many expected. Could the Sussex fairy tale marriage really be entering a difficult new chapter? At the very moment he appeared to need support more than ever, Meghan was still absent from his side. One difficult moment can be written off. Two can be explained away. But when several setbacks arrive together, people naturally begin asking a much bigger question. Even supporters, who once believed the couple always moved as one, have started wondering whether something has quietly changed behind the scenes. Is Harry simply losing ground in his long-running battle with Britain? Or is Britain revealing a growing distance inside his own marriage? For years, Harry and Meghan presented themselves as a united team.
They're not going to get those glossy headlines about the sweet reunion between Markle and the man that walked her down the aisle, King Charles. So I don't think, even though Harry's team is teasing we could get a Meghan Markle appearance on Friday, I don't think we'll see her, because when Harry's having a difficult time, Meghan doesn't want to be involved.
Well, we'll do it, Harry, if we can get what we want, like our photo op. Have a connection to royalty that makes it look like we're back on the inside. Right? But she doesn't want things to be private. She doesn't want things to look like they have the appearance of still being on the outside. If, no one can see that they are benefiting from being in alignment with royalty again. Because the Sussex brand was built on the royal connection.
They left royal life together. They settled in California together. They shared their story together. They challenged the palace together. They built the Sussex brand around the belief that they were protecting each other against the rest of the world. But look at the picture now. The contrast between Harry and Meghan has become harder to ignore with every new visit to Britain. Harry continues making the journey back. Meghan does not. Harry keeps speaking about repairing family relationships. Meghan remains silent on that subject. Harry keeps searching for ways to reopen doors to the palace, while Meghan appears far more comfortable, leaving those same doors firmly closed. Britain seems to be pulling Harry in one direction, while Meghan appears to be heading somewhere completely different. Or perhaps she is not pulling him anywhere at all. Maybe she has simply chosen to move further away from that chapter of their lives, leaving Harry to face it on his own. That is exactly why this latest trip feels so different. The biggest headline is no longer that Harry lost another battle.
Harry's hair loss the amount of stress he's been under since he married Meghan. I think it's definitely sped it up because he did have a thicker Brillo pad of hair until his wedding, and then everything from Megxit and everything else, everything he's given up, everything, the stress of constantly trying to make his...
For goodness sake, can't they just meet up for a slice of cake and a cup of tea? That would be something.
Yeah, well, why? But they should. But the whole thing from day one has been, will they, won't they?
Yeah.
And it's basically been driven by the Sussexes.
You want to stay, if you're Meghan and Harry, in the ceremonial symbol home of the royal family that you've labelled racist? Well, in my opinion, only because their brand is failing massively and they want to be they need to be attached photographs in America with the royal family.
It is that his relationship with Britain now seems to belong almost entirely to him. The effort to reconnect has become Harry's mission. He is the one boarding the flights back home. He is the one attending legal hearings. He is the one showing up at Invictus events. He is the one speaking publicly about his father, his security concerns, his childhood memories, and his hope that reconciliation is still possible. Whether those hopes are realistic or not, he continues returning instead of walking away, and that determination has become a major part of the story. Meanwhile, Meghan may still benefit from the royal connection, but she no longer appears willing to stand beside Harry when that connection involves returning to Britain and facing the risks that come with it. Critics have argued that the Sussex brand becomes much more valuable whenever it appears closely linked to the royal family. A single photograph with the king would make headlines around the world. Even a private family reunion could dominate news coverage for weeks. One carefully managed image featuring the children.
She's not trying to work with royalty. She is not trying to make Harry's life any easier to have a relationship with his family, because let me tell you, Meghan is not trying to have a relationship with her own father or her own family. So do you really think she is trying to have Harry have a relationship with his family if it can't benefit her?
If my dad, who was not here, was ill, I wouldn't... Why announce it in the papers? Why not just go and see him? This whole debacle is for publicity. And here's something Kinsey Schofield has been saying for months. 2 words: Thomas Markle. If it's about your grandchildren seeing their grandparents, you've left a man in a hospital and you haven't had words with him for however many years.
Could instantly reconnect the Sussexes with the institution they stepped away from and spark another wave of public discussion. But what happens if that reunion never produces a dramatic public moment? What if there is no appearance on a royal balcony, no stay inside a palace residence, no full police protection, and no photograph suggesting Harry and Meghan have been welcomed back into the royal circle? In that situation, Meghan is still not there beside Harry. Would Meghan still value that relationship if there were no public spotlight attached to it? That is the difficult question many commentators continue to raise. A quiet relationship with Harry's family would demand patience, privacy, and compromise. It could mean private meetings that nobody ever sees, conversations that remain completely confidential, and family photographs that never become public. It would require rebuilding trust slowly, instead of turning every positive step into a public moment. And some commentators believe that is exactly where Meghan begins to lose interest. According to critics, The royal connection seems most valuable when it helps strengthen the Sussex brand, attracts worldwide attention, or supports future business opportunities. But if that relationship remains entirely private, they ask what Meghan truly gains from maintaining it. That question has continued to spark debate among royal watchers, especially as Harry keeps making highly public visits to Britain while Meghan stays largely out of view. That line of criticism becomes even more pointed when commentators compare Harry's relationship with his father to Meghan's relationship with her own father, Thomas Markle. Why? Critics ask. Should Meghan push for access to Harry's father while remaining separated from her own? Is it because Harry's father is the king, while her father is simply her father? It is a harsh question, and one that naturally divides opinion. Family relationships are rarely simple, and people outside those families can never know every detail. Personal history, private disagreements, and years of complicated experiences often shape decisions in ways the public cannot fully understand. Even so, the comparison continues to surface because many observers believe the contrast is difficult to overlook. Meghan has shown little public interest in rebuilding her relationship with Thomas Markle, yet reports continue to discuss possible conversations, reunions, and future meetings involving King Charles. Those stories have only added another layer to an already complicated public narrative. One father represents years of emotional history. The other represents the British monarchy and its worldwide influence. To Meghan's critics, that difference explains everything. Whether that interpretation is fair or not, it continues to fuel discussion whenever Harry returns to Britain. Now the situation has become even more puzzling. Several media outlets have reported that Meghan and the children may already be in Britain privately, even though Meghan has not appeared publicly alongside Harry during any of his current engagements. There has been no official public confirmation from the Sussexes, and different reports continue to contradict one another. But if Meghan truly is already in the country, then the questions only become louder. Why does Harry continue appearing alone? Why wasn't Meghan beside him when the court decision was announced? Why didn't she stand with him after a legal battle that had consumed so much of his time, energy, and financial resources? Why has she not appeared at the Invictus Countdown event, a cause that has long been closely connected to Harry's public identity and one he has repeatedly described as deeply important? If Meghan is only a short distance away, then her absence is no longer about the challenge of crossing an ocean. It becomes a personal decision, and that decision creates an entirely new story of its own. She did not need to address the media. She did not need to sit inside the courtroom. She did not need to give interviews or pose for photographers. In the eyes of many observers, Meghan only needed to appear beside her husband a single time. That one public moment could have changed the entire conversation surrounding Harry's latest visit to Britain. Had Meghan arrived publicly, the headlines would likely have centered on unity instead of separation. The photographs would have shown Harry facing a difficult moment with his wife standing beside him. The visit could have looked like a family returning together, instead of a man facing another lonely struggle connected to his past. But that moment never came. Instead, her absence became one of the biggest stories of the entire trip, speaking louder than any public statement she could have made. One royal commentator has offered an even more dramatic interpretation. According to that view, Meghan may not want Harry rebuilding his relationship with the palace because genuine reconciliation could reshape the story they have presented together over the past several years. The commentator argues that Harry growing closer to his father would involve much more than repairing a damaged family relationship. It could reconnect Harry with trusted advisors, longtime friends, senior royals, and a world that exists beyond Meghan's direct influence. That remains an opinion expressed by a commentator, not an established fact. Still, it raises a question that continues to attract attention and debate among royal watchers. What would happen to Harry and Meghan's partnership if Harry no longer viewed the palace as an opponent? Much of their public identity has been built around the decision to leave royal life behind. Their interviews focused heavily on rejection and disappointment. Their documentaries, books, and public projects have repeatedly returned to the struggles they say they experienced during their time inside the royal family. That narrative has become closely tied to how many people view their journey. If Harry now hopes to move closer to the very family he once openly criticized, could that change the story that helped shape their new life in California? Some commentators believe Meghan sees Britain as a chapter that should remain firmly closed. Harry, however, continues moving in the opposite direction. He returns for court cases. He returns for charitable work. He returns for Invictus. He returns while speaking publicly about his father. He returns while continuing his campaign for changes to his security arrangements. Every visit suggests that some part of Harry remains deeply connected to the world he once said he wanted to leave behind, no matter how much time has passed. Meghan's future appears increasingly rooted in California. Harry's past continues pulling him back toward Britain. How much longer can two people keep moving in opposite directions before that growing distance becomes impossible for anyone to ignore? The events of this past week made those lingering questions feel even more difficult to ignore. Harry did not simply appear disappointed after the court ruling. To many observers, he looked like someone carrying the weight of years of frustration all at once. Every appearance seemed to add another layer to a story that had already become deeply personal. Observers at Chatham House said the outcome of the case appeared written across Harry's face. Several commentators claimed his voice sounded unsteady as he spoke afterward. They described him as tense, emotionally drained, and visibly affected after a legal battle he had pursued for years ended in defeat. It was a moment many believed carried far more emotional weight than an ordinary courtroom loss. And where was Meghan during all of this? At the very moment Harry appeared to be facing one of the hardest public setbacks of his recent life, the woman who once described them as inseparable was not standing beside him. Is that what a supportive marriage looks like? Would a devoted partner choose to remain out of sight during the most difficult moment of the week, especially if reports suggesting she was already in Britain were accurate? Those questions have become part of the wider public conversation. Of course, support is not always something the public can see. Meghan may have been speaking with Harry privately. She may have been waiting somewhere far away from cameras and photographers. There are many moments in any marriage that remain completely hidden from public view. The reality is that nobody outside their relationship truly knows what happened behind closed doors. Private conversations stay private, and appearances rarely tell the complete story. Even so, public figures are often judged by the images people see rather than the conversations they never hear. This week, the image remained remarkably consistent. Harry standing alone, Harry facing the cameras alone, Harry absorbing the court's decision alone, Harry continuing his public engagements alone, Harry trying to smile while what many describe as one of the defining missions of his adult life appeared to suffer another major setback. Each appearance seemed to reinforce the same impression for many watching from the outside. Every time Harry speaks about reconciliation, returning, or rebuilding communication with his family, Meghan appears to move in a different direction. When Harry talks openly about wanting his family back, Meghan says nothing publicly. When Harry travels to Britain, she remains absent. Whenever reports mention possible royal meetings, fresh discussions often emerge about security arrangements, conditions, and reasons why the Sussexes may ultimately decide not to participate. Does Meghan genuinely believe Harry's safety remains the biggest concern, or has the security issue become the strongest reason for avoiding a return she never truly wanted? Some critics argue that the security expectations have become so demanding that meaningful reconciliation grows increasingly difficult. Under that view, full protection, royal accommodation, and carefully arranged security would all need to be guaranteed before Meghan would consider returning publicly. If those expectations are never met, she can remain in California while continuing to argue that Britain made the visit impossible. The debate surrounding security has taken on an even bigger role in Harry and Meghan's story. For Harry, personal protection may be something he views as deeply important. For Meghan, critics argue it may also serve a practical purpose. They believe it allows her to decline a return to Britain without having to say directly that she simply has no desire to come back. That interpretation has become a frequent topic of discussion among royal commentators. That leads to another difficult question. Was Meghan disappointed because Harry had been hurt by the outcome of the trip, or because the visit failed to deliver the royal breakthrough some people expected? Those are two very different possibilities. If her frustration came from seeing her husband struggle, critics ask why she was not publicly standing beside him during one of the hardest weeks he has faced. But if the disappointment centered on the trip producing no meaningful royal access, no improved security arrangements, and no positive public moment, then her absence begins to take on a very different meaning in the eyes of those same commentators. Harry's relationship with the palace has never been only a private family issue. It also remains an important part of the Sussex brand's public identity. Without Harry's royal title, his royal history, and his ongoing disagreements with the institution, many commentators wonder how much public attention future Sussex projects would continue to receive. Their biggest headlines still tend to come from stories connected to the royal family. Every disagreement keeps their names linked to the monarchy. Every rumor of a possible reunion brings renewed global attention. Every photograph taken anywhere near a royal residence reminds people that Harry remains the king's son, regardless of where he lives today. So what happens if that connection continues to weaken? What happens if Harry keeps returning alone, but the palace no longer opens the gate, while Meghan no longer appears at his side? According to some commentators, that is where the greatest challenge could emerge for the Sussexes. Harry could find himself losing both worlds at the same time. He could remain too unpredictable for the palace to fully trust again, while also becoming increasingly drawn back toward Britain in ways that Meghan may not fully share or support. That possibility has become another source of ongoing speculation. He could end up standing outside the royal family he was born into, while also feeling emotionally disconnected from the California future that Meghan has publicly embraced. Eventually, Harry may find himself facing a choice that goes far beyond deciding where to live. It may become a choice between two very different identities. On one side is the prince who still appears to long for his father, his country, his charities, Invictus, and at least some connection to the royal life he has never completely let go of. On the other side is the husband who promised Meghan that their future would be built far away from that world. Harry continues living between those two realities. One contains his title, his childhood, his charities, Invictus, and the family he cannot completely release. The other contains Meghan, California, their children, and the new life they told the world had finally made them feel free. But what if those two worlds can no longer exist together? Harry still appears determined to hold on to his past, while Meghan seems ready to leave it behind. Yet Harry keeps returning to Britain. He keeps challenging institutions. He keeps fighting the British press instead of closing that chapter of his life. According to one theory raised by royal commentators, Harry's legal battle with the Daily Mail was influenced in part by Meghan's own history with the newspaper. Meghan previously won a privacy case involving the publication of parts of a letter she wrote to Thomas Markle. Harry has also said that the treatment Meghan received helped shape his wider campaign against sections of the British press. Some commentators believe the case became more than Harry's personal mission. They argue it was also his way of confronting an institution Meghan strongly criticised. But the court rejected the claims brought by Harry and the other claimants, leaving them facing major legal costs and another difficult public setback. If Harry entered that fight partly to defend Meghan, what does the outcome now mean for their relationship? Does Meghan believe he stayed in the battle too long? Or does Harry feel he invested years of his life in a fight that changed very little? Meghan continued to appear in Harry's explanation of his wider conflict with the press, even though parts of the case involved events from before they met. That led some commentators to wonder why her role remained so central to his reasoning. Was he trying to prove every sacrifice had been worthwhile? No one outside their marriage knows the answer. Harry has spoken about wanting peace with his family, yet disagreements over security, accommodation, meetings, and palace arrangements have repeatedly become public stories. Genuine reconciliation rarely begins with competing headlines. Meghan may appear to be moving further from Britain, but Harry continues moving toward it. That is why this week mattered. It became a test of where the Sussex partnership now stands. Harry still appears to want something from Britain. Meghan seems to value the royal connection, but perhaps not the difficult private relationship that comes with rebuilding family ties. Harry continues looking back toward his past, while Meghan appears focused on their future in California. Britain keeps pulling Harry in one direction, while Meghan seems to be pulling in another. Will Meghan eventually stand beside Harry again when he returns to Britain? Or will the distance between them continue to grow? Because the most powerful image from this trip may not have been Harry losing in court. It may have been Harry walking through Britain alone, still fighting for a life his wife no longer appears to want. What do you think? Is Harry still trying to rebuild bridges, or has that chapter already closed? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss our next royal update.